What's Up Doha?
Assalamu alaikum and hello everyone. Welcome to another inspiring episode of your favorite talk show segment of What's Up Doha with me, Zunira Malik. Viewers, anything is possible if you put your mind to it. Yes, you got me right. I'm talking about my guest today. She's an icon of triumph, a beauty to be inspired from, a comedian that can crack you up in no time, an athlete with an unparalleled passion, and a determined social worker who is going an extra mile to make a difference in the society of Doha, Qatar. She's a founder of MD Qatar, an organization that supports people with Duchene Muscular Dystrophy, which we'll be talking about during the episode. Having diagnosed with the same disease did not stop her from dreaming big and making that dream come true. Viewers, it's an absolute pleasure and honor for me and my team to have her on my show today. Let's welcome Nawaal Akram. Assalamu alaikum, Nawaal.
Walaikum assalam.
Welcome to the show, first of all.
Thank you for having me.
How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty excited.
Really, even me. I was so excited to meet you today.
Same here. I really like what you're doing, so I'm excited to be here with you.
Oh, I'm glad. So Nawaal, tell us more about yourself. How have you been in Doha? Are you born, brought up here?
Yes, Doha's great, and I'm born and brought up in Doha actually. So I've been here my entire life.
Let's talk about the muscular dystrophy that you have. I was reading about it that it's within the gene and it's not under a human control. So tell us, elaborate more on this.
Okay, so I'm the only one in my whole entire family that is born with muscular dystrophy Duchene. And when I was young, when I was like 6 years old, when I got diagnosed, I thought it was something like a common cold, that it will go away with time. But slowly it started affecting the way I walk or do my daily activities, because I wasn't running as fast as the other kids. I wasn't able to do most activities of other kids. So that
Around
was
what age are you talking about this?
6 years old.
6 years, okay.
So,
Until 6 years you had a normal childhood?
Yes, before that, the signs of muscular dystrophy, it was causing pain in my body before, but it wasn't affecting me as much as it did when I was 6 years old. And as older I was getting, it was progressing even more, that it was creating spasms and pain in my entire body. And I thought, I thought it was my fault that all of this was happening as a child, and I thought it would eventually go away with time. But I think my life just had to be interesting, so they gave me some challenges inside by having muscular dystrophy.
So there is no cure for this?
No, not yet. There is no cure for it, but there are researches going on and treatments around the world, but there hasn't been any in Qatar yet that are researching on muscular dystrophy, because a lot of people in Qatar have it. But the sad part is no one is coming out and talking about it, because it's a very sensitive subject to talk about.
That's
true. Because of that, people who have it are afraid to come out and talk about it, because they're afraid they're going to be judged about it and not be accepted. And they're being inactive and silent about the condition. And the thing is, we cannot solve any problem if we don't talk about it. And I think the biggest, they're not getting accepted by the society or their families about the disease, since it's a very sensitive subject itself. So it's harder to get people to talk and come out. But I can say Qatar has progressed in being accepting towards disabilities, because I'm someone who's born here and I wasn't always on wheelchairs, so I know how it feels to be judged without knowing who or what is my problem, because sometimes you might see something and judge without knowing what it is. So before wheelchair, because I was walking in a slightly different manner, so in public when I would walk, I would get mimicked by strangers, and school students would bully me for the way I was walking, but they had no idea that I was dealing with the disease. And they judged me without knowing anything about me. And that's a huge perspective that anyone, regardless of having a disability or not, we're still facing that issue, that we're judging people on their looks or the way they act without knowing their actual reason or why they're doing a certain action.
Your mother was very curious about the situation that you were going through, and nobody knew it before, right, that you are going
Yes.
through such a disease. How did you guys figure it out?
Figure out at first, because my mom, mashallah, she has 6 kids now. And by the time I was 4 years old, when she noticed this, she had 2 more siblings after me. And when that happened, because she had 6 kids, she could tell the difference.
Yeah.
And I even started talking when I was 4 years old, so that was already a concern to my mother. But the doctors were not taking it seriously. And I was walking on tiptoes. That is actually one of the signs of muscular dystrophy. And the doctors were ignoring it because I'm a child, it will go away. And because I was complaining about a lot of pain, which made naturally it made my mom even worried about it. And when I was 6 years old, my mom asked the doctor if she could get a biopsy done to figure out what's the problem. And the doctor thought there was nothing wrong with me, but they still went on as my mom's request. And when the biopsy came out, it came out muscular dystrophy Duchene. And by that, the doctor did apologize to my mom about being wrong about my condition for so many years, because I could have started physical therapy when I was 4 years old, so my condition wouldn't have been that bad when I was 6. But because I had no physical therapy when I was 4 years old, so by the time I was 6, it was already progressing really fast, and it affected my body way more. And it could have been stopped, but the doctor diagnosed it at least 2 years late.
Oh my God, which is really sad. How did you deal with the situation at that moment, and how did you and your family reacted to this?
Regardless of the disease, my parents still treated me very normally. I have had no difference. If my siblings did something bad, they got in trouble. If I did something bad, I would get in trouble too. So regardless of my childhood, was pretty normal. And my family, they knew it was a very serious situation, because when someone in your family is going through a disease or a disability or a hard time in general, it affects not just the person but the entire family. So regardless of that, my parents didn't want that happening. So they treated me normal, so my other siblings would feel like it's not that serious, that it was serious, but they don't want to freak out the entire family and treat me normal as any other kid.
And they don't want to make you feel any other difference.
That too. My parents made me feel so normal, but the people I was meeting outside made me feel so different that I was doubting myself in whatever I was doing. I think humor has been a very big part of my life. So regardless of any situation, I try to take it in a very light way, as if I would find, of course, it's a very serious matter, but I didn't want it affecting me in a negative way. So I always saw the positive side of it. Maybe I have the disease maybe for a reason. Maybe to make me a better person, maybe to save me from troubles I might go through if I didn't have a disability. I always try to look at the brighter side of it, because there's no point of me looking into something negative because if I'm upset and sad, it would make my parents sad and upset. Yeah. And I don't want to see my parents upset and crying because of me. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I really cared about my parents. I don't want to come out because if I'm upset, it affects my parents. And I want my parents to be happy, so I stay happy. And always look at the brighter side of that. Some people have it even worse than me. So I have no right to complain that my life is really hard when there's worse situations going on.
You're so strong, Nawaal. I must say you're such an inspiration and motivation for many. And I'm gaining a lot from you right now. That's how a girl with a disability is so courageous, mashallah, and so confident. Throughout all your journey, who has been inspirations for you? Who has been, such a great support for you?
My parents have been my biggest support system, but I think especially my mother. My mother has been the one who pushed me to venture into new fields regarding sports, fashion, comedy, or in acting. And I think I couldn't have done any of this without my mom's support and her push, because she's always pushed me to do new stuff, to learn something new about myself. And I think the other part of my inspiration came from not having an inspiration when I was growing up. Because when I newly went on wheelchair, I couldn't find any girl with a disability who was into media, into fashion, or into sports, regardless in the different fields. And in Qatar, I didn't find anyone. And I think I went and did what I wanted to become, or I wanted to see. Also, the other reason I went into these fields, because I'm not going to be the only girl in Qatar who's going to have a disability. There's going to be many more in my situation. Recent years, I have seen special needs come out, but I've seen more male come out. But I haven't seen that many female come out in different sports. Even getting out in daily life, I would see like boys who are in wheelchair out in the malls, but I would rarely see female who's enjoying her life stage and going out into malls. I really seen that. And if I did see anyone who was in a very elderly age when they have lived life and everything's chill, and now they're just out with their family in the mall.
Now, while dealing with such challenges throughout the years, have you ever felt despair? At which point at your life you felt like that?
I think, regardless of that, I think when I was 12 years old, when I newly went on wheelchair, because I just lost something that was a very big part of my life. I was very independent. I still needed help, but I was still, managing to be independent. And suddenly going on wheelchair, I was depending on someone else to do everything for me. And because it was such a young age, I didn't understand what was happening. That made me judge myself and blame myself for everything that's happening. And my parents, of course, they tried to tell me that it's not my fault. It's life. But regardless of that, I think I was very young and I couldn't understand what was going on because this stuff, it took away my childhood. So I knew all corners of the hospital before I knew the corners of my school. And that started from a young age. And now going on wheelchair didn't make it any better because I couldn't understand it. Being on wheelchair is not a bad thing. Of course, it's not a bad thing. But I was so new to it. So change is always scary. And but alhamdulillah, I have learned to accept it and understand it a bit more because maybe there's a positive side to it. But at that time, I was wishing that this never happened to me.
True. But I think even you're carrying it so perfectly that with this, all the challenges you had, you are a comedian as well, you are a Paralympic athlete as well, and you are doing so many things, and just as you said that you are doing so many charity causes as well. So I mean, this is remarkable, Nawaal. You are a true inspiration to many people. So Nawaal, let's talk about you coming into the field of comedy, and you're performing with SCUQ, right? If I'm not wrong?
SCUQ.
SCUQ, stand-up comedy in Qatar. So how come you opted this specific field of humor?
Humor has been a very big part of my life, as I mentioned, and regardless of that, my doctors encouraged me to kind of go into comedy. And when it was in 2012, I came across Facebook and YouTube about stand-up comedy Qatar. And I actually wanted to go and participate, and I even emailed in, but I ended up never going to it. So what ended up happening, my mom was tired of listening to me saying I want to go and perform, and she pushed me into going to my first comedy show last year. And I performed my first comedy show, and it went quite well. And ever since then, they've been inviting me back and forth. Actually, this ended up happening. For years, I was following Hamad Al-Amari on stand-up comedy Qatar.
Okay.
For years, by the Facebook page and all that, and their videos online by YouTube. But I was really scared to even go to watch the shows. But then last year, my mom encouraged me to go to the show and perform, not just talk about going, but actually to go perform as I was talking to my mother. And yeah, ever since she pushed me, and I've been there ever since.
So have you ever been performing at home in front of your mother? Because I'm sure that's why she must be forcing you to do that.
No, it's practically my character, because I have a really witty personality at times. So, so my mom noticed the humor, because humor is there in my daily life.
Do you feel happy after making people laugh?
Oh, of course I do, because I get even more curious questions from the audience after I get off stage. So regardless, they would have questions on regardless whether disability or not, because in my shows, of course I can make fun of my disability, no one else can, but I can. So I would provoke serious subjects through humor, and that would make people laugh, but then they would know, hey, there's this problem that we have in our society, why not fix it instead of laughing about it? Yes. And then laugh about it once it's fixed.
Good, that's true, yeah. Then from comedy, you chose some other fields as well, like modeling and acting. I just recently came to know that you're shooting for a movie as well, for a film, a short film.
Yeah, a short film. Firstly, and modeling-wise, I got into this really amazing brand. It's a Qatari brand, Couture. And with her, we opted on for one of their collections that I modeled, and the collection became the first of its kind, featuring a female physically challenged model showcasing in Qatar. It was its first time, so that itself got a lot of attention in media.
Wow.
In Qatar and Middle East itself, since it's a very well-known brand in the Middle East. From there, it got a lot of attention. And then filming-wise, there's a Qatari videographer, Nawaal Akram, and I filmed a short film with her, Imperfectly Perfect. And that was showing, regardless, in the entire short film, we didn't show my wheelchair. And we were showing our differences, beauty-wise, of dealing with it, and how we're not only our looks, but we are a whole person itself. And regardless of the end of that, we showed my wheelchair, and that made people emotional, because in the entire film, they were looking and they were judging the scenery and my looks. But then at the end, they noticed why I was sitting a certain way or I was posing a certain way, because there was a wheelchair at the end.
Oh,
and that's where it showed looks can be very deceiving, and you shouldn't judge a person by their looks.
That's really true. You should never judge a person with the looks unless you know them personally and closely. And I think that's the problem of the society we live in, that people around there are just ready to judge people with no reasons around, just what is coming in their head, and they're just speaking about it, which is really wrong, and we have to change the perspectives. We have to change this perception for the society.
Regardless of disability or not.
Yeah, regardless of that. So what about you? Were you scared when the film was offered to you, the short film? What was the reaction of your parents towards it, and you?
Regarding my parents-wise, they were happy because they knew I wanted to try this stuff, but I was scared. At first it was scary, but I'm always adventurous. Like, my entire life has been really adventurous. I like to see it in that way. So when the film started with Nawaal Akram and filming that, it was so exciting because she's an amazing videographer and amazing to work with. So it made the journey, even the filming and the journey of making it, a lot more easier and really fun. It was, and I'm really glad because it kind of helped in changing people's perspectives towards disability and judging someone without knowing them.
Nawaal, what kind of appearances have you given so far?
Given so far, I have been...
You have given some speeches as well, and some events that you're associated with. I would like you to mention all of them.
Regardless of events, you'll see me at restaurant openings, in jewelry stores opening, or fashion-wise. And from that, I also like, I like to be involved in Qatar Cancer Society and Qatar Charity. And from that, I have given speeches in schools, universities, and I recently had a TED Talk. So I'm hoping that will be published soon too. So these are the
Getting into the TED Talk is an achievement itself, you know, and I'm sure you must have done a great job in it. How was the experience? Please tell us about it.
That was actually one of my goals before I turned 18. When I was 10 years old, I set this as a goal. I have many goals right now. The only one I have left, I think, before 18 is skydiving, and hopefully that will be done soon too. But TED Talk, yes, hopefully soon, inshallah. TED Talk was in my goals when I said when I was 10 years old to do it before I'm 18, and that got accomplished.
Wow! So God has been so grateful to you since all your wishes are coming true before you have thought about them.
Yes, and I think if I didn't have my disability, if Allah didn't give me this disability, I would have not had these chances. So now that I'm old enough to understand my disability, I'm glad I have it, because it definitely happened for a reason. And it did give me a lot of chances that I think I would not have if I didn't have the disability.
And I think this is a true faith of a Muslim, that everything happens for a reason, and there's always a blessing in whatever situation you are having. I think it's a journey for you. It's a great experience now for you, right?
It has made my life really interesting, and I think my life would have been really boring if I didn't have it. So I'm very
In fact,
grateful.
I'm thinking my life is quite boring as compared to yours now. Mashallah, you're doing great, and you're so adventurous, so cheerful. And it is giving, you know, I'm learning a lot, and it's giving so many hopes to so many out there who is watching you right now. So Nawaal, with all these appearances that you did and so many activities that you do around, I'm sure you must be meeting so many people around you. So what do you think they learn and take away from you? Have you ever felt like that they're learning from you?
Yes, they have learned that looks are very deceiving. Because I'm handicapped, people think that I'm going to be shy, I'm not going to be outgoing, I'm going to be really quiet. And when I speak really loud and I have a really outgoing personality and I can make a person laugh when I want to.
And that's why you're here, because I was so impressed with your personality, and I think people like you should be highlighted as much as they should be, because you are an inspiration to many.
I don't find myself inspirational, I just find myself who is helping in the community. And I think everyone should look into a purpose with their life, regardless of a disability or not.
Yeah.
We should be helping into our community, to people around us, and not expect anything back from them, and just be more giving to people and more forgiving and accepting.
Have you ever felt like, yes, I am on the right track, yes, I am giving something to the community?
Yes, because right now, from being published in Gulf Times, in Doha News, and some international websites, I get emails and messages from parents who have children with physical disabilities, who are maybe newlyweds and they're very new to having a child with disability, and they're seeing some hope. And and people who have older children with disability, they're letting them go out because they see that society is accepting of me, they will be accepting of their children when they come out and do stuff.
True.
And I have met people who have passed away, but their family has reached out to me, regardless of raising awareness about muscular dystrophy. I think I'll stay away from naming her, but she had a sister who passed away from muscular dystrophy, and in that time there was no awareness about it, so it was very hard to get her a medical treatment and physical therapy because they couldn't diagnose it correctly. But by the time
what kind of muscular dystrophy was that? The same kind as yours?
Duchene.
Oh.
And they couldn't understand it, so because the doctors were late on diagnosing it, by the time she passed away, by the time they could diagnose, and she reached out to me that she's Qatari and she's happy that I'm raising awareness about this in Qatar, because it will help many children in Qatar who might have muscular dystrophy, and they'll look into finding treatments for themselves and seeing what can help them lead an active and healthy lifestyle.
Let's talk about the organization that you're founder of, MD Qatar,
Yes.
right? What is it about?
Muscular Dystrophy Qatar, it's aimed to raise awareness about the disease and also to encourage further research on muscular dystrophy in Qatar. Because I think we're living in a generation where we have the knowledge and we also have the funds, so why not really research on it and create a medicine for it, for people who are affected by disease, so they can live a healthier and longer life.
So you think that with some efforts, the medicine would be produced, and you think that it is curable?
In a really realistic point of view, I don't think it's curable, but I think we can work on creating a medicine that can slow down the process of muscular dystrophy, because it makes the entire body weak, including the heart. And if we slow down the process by medicine, we can have a healthier and longer living lives and enjoy an active lifestyle with our families or our loved ones.
That's so true. Well, Nawaal, before we say goodbye, I would like you to give some message or advice to the viewers who are watching right now.
If you're afraid to do something, go do it, because you never know what it might bring for you. And that laughter can heal any pain.
It's truly a pleasure having you here, since you're such a motivation for many. I have learned a lot from you that maybe you don't know about. And I have no words to explain what my experience has been today with this interview. And I have to say that this is the hardest interview I've done so far. I have kept my emotions inside during interviewing you, and when you were speaking, of course, the mother inside me and the woman inside me can feel so many things. So thank you so much for being on the show, and thank you so much for showing us so much of hope for those having the same disease like this.
Thank you so much for having me here, and it's a pleasure to have you interview me.
Oh, pleasure is all mine, Nawaal. Viewers, it's time for me to say you goodbye, but before I leave, let me share a small thought with you. Never let the things you want make you forget the things that you have. Be grateful for the countless blessings you have in your life and cherish them. Take a lot of care of yourself. Until my next episode, goodbye.